How can you use exponents to write large numbers? Think about this question during the lesson. A box of cubes has 5 layers. Each layer has 5 rows with 5 cubes in each row. There are 5 times 5 times 5 cubes in the box. You can use exponential notation to represent repeated multiplication of the same number, such as 5 times 5 times 5. Can you also use exponential notation to write 5 times 4 times 2? No, each number in the expression is different. Exponential notation is used to represent repeated multiplication of the same number. What is exponential notation? Exponential notation provides a way of writing a number using exponents. You can use an exponent to tell how many times a number is used as a factor. The factor is called the base. Now look at 2 to the 5th. Why is 2 to the 5th equal to 32 and not equal to 10? 2 to the 5th is equal to 32 and not 10 because 2 to the 5th equals 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, not 2 times 5. What can you determine from the exponent? The exponent shows how many times the base appears as a factor. Numbers involving exponents can be written in 3 different forms: standard form, expanded form, and exponential notation. What is the difference between standard form and expanded form? Standard form is the way numbers are written in everyday situations. Expanded form is the number written as the product of factors. When might you want to use exponential notation rather than expanded form? You would use exponential notation when the exponent is large. It can be faster than writing out the repeated multiplication in expanded form. Now you know how to use exponents to write large numbers.
Today we're going to focus on Unit 2, Lesson 6, which covers exponents. Now, exponents are something you may be familiar with. You've probably seen them before and maybe not even realized what they were. Now, we're working through our unit on multiplication, and we know that if I put down the problem 2 times 3, now I can do that really easily in my head. I know the answer, but I also know that 2 times 3 is really 2 plus 2 plus 2. So I'm taking 2 and I'm adding it 3 times. And that's where we get the 2 times 3 from, is because I'm taking 2 and I'm using it 3 times. I'm adding it 3 times. And we know that that answer gives us 6. Now, exponents are similar, but they represent multiplying the same number over and over again, whereas multiplication represents adding the same number over and over again. So if I have the number 2 to the 3rd power, or 2 cubed, I know the tendency a lot of times is to multiply 2 times 3 and say, oh, okay, that's 6. No, we don't see a multiplication symbol. And these numbers aren't really next to each other, representing multiplication. I've got a big 2 and a little baby 3 in the upper right-hand corner attached to that 2. This is an exponent right here. This is an exponent. And this represents how many times I am multiplying my big number. So here I see 2 to the 3rd power, which means I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to multiply it 3 times. So exponents are different than multiplication in the sense that in a multiplication problem, like I said, we're adding the same number over and over again. This little baby exponent tells me that I'm multiplying the same number over and over again. So if I take 2 and I multiply it by itself, we're not multiplying it by 3, I'm not multiplying it by any other number. When you're using exponents, you take whatever your base number is and multiply by itself this many times. So in the case of 2 to the third power, I have 2 times 2, which is 4, 4 times 2, which is 8. So 2 to the third power equals 8. Let's try another one. So let me clear this. Let's try 5 to the third power. Now again, I'm not doing 5 times 3. This is a baby little number. Since it's not the same size and it's not written next to it, I'm not doing regular multiplication. This number, this exponent, is telling me how many times I'm multiplying my base number by itself, how many times I'm doing that. So in this case, I'm going to do 5 to the third power, or I'm multiplying 5 3 times. So that's what that exponent represents. Basically, exponents are a way to take big numbers and write them a little bit easier, so they're easier to manage. So if I multiply this out, I have 5 times 5 is 25. And if I multiply it by 5 again, I get 125. So 5 to the third power is 125. So again, I didn't add, I multiplied, and I only multiplied one number. I just did it 3 times. Let's try that again. And so exponents are pretty simple if you remember that it represents how many times we were multiplying the same number by itself. I can do 3 to the third power, and it doesn't always have to be to the third power. It's just what I'm using for the sake of this lesson. So 3 to the third power means I'm multiplying my base number 3, and I'm multiplying it by itself this many times. So 1, 2, 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So 3 to the third power is 27. Let's try 1 to the fourth power. So let's do 2 to the fourth power. So I'm taking my base number, the big number 2, and I'm multiplying it this many times. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Remember, we're always multiplying the base number by itself. So the only number you're writing is 2. You're not doing 2 times 4. That's completely different. That's repeated addition. This is 2 to the fourth power. That's an exponent, which means I'm multiplying it by itself. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So 2 to the fourth power is 16. So exponents are pretty easy. All you need to do is remember that you are taking your base number, multiplying it by itself, and the exponent tells you how many times you are going to do that. Go ahead and try it on your own. I'm going to put a number on the screen. Go ahead and try it on your own and see if you can figure it out. So let's do 3 to the fourth power. 3 to the fourth power. Go ahead and pause the video right now. See if you can figure out what that equals. And then go ahead and press play, and we'll do it together to see if you got it right. Okay, so you should have already tried to figure this number out on yourself. Remember that this exponent is telling me how many times I'm multiplying my base number. So here's my base number. So I'm going to do 3 4 times. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. The only time you're going to multiply the number by itself is when you see the exponent. Normally, you will see multiplication problems written like this. Don't get confused. This is not an exponent. The only time it's an exponent is when we take it and let's see if it'll let me do it. I want to do just this one. And we take it, it's not going to let me. And we put it right on top of itself and then make it smaller. So if I moved it up here, it made it tiny. So it looks kind of like it's sitting on the shoulder of the 3. That's an exponent. Now, when we have an exponent, we're multiplying the same number by itself. So I have 3 4 times. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. I'm just going to multiply them normally. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. And then if I do 27 times 3, because we don't do math in our head, that's how we make mistakes. 3 times 7 is 21. Carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus 1 is 8. So this equals 81. 3 to the 4th power equals 81. Pretty simple lesson. Like I said, the key thing to remember is that an exponent tells you how many times you are multiplying the base number by itself. Go ahead and try your practice problems, and good luck, guys. Great job.